Chapter 391. These Little Bastards. In a sense, the Heaven's Path Golden Body 2 Dan was the most correct method in absorbing the blood essence. As though a plant that had thirsted for several years, Xianxia's body greedily absorbed the energy within the spirit blood. After an unknown period of time. Boom! With a loud bang, as though something had exploded, and Xianxia's physical body strength had broken through a bottleneck and reached a brand new level. Whew! Breathing out a mouthful of turbid gas, Xianxia realized that his entire body was revitalized, and his skin was more compact and smooth. At the same time, his appearance looked slightly more dashing, and his figure became slightly closer to the golden ratio. He had succeeded in cultivation Heaven's Path Golden Body 2 Dan. The 2 drops of spirit beast blood essence which he had rubbed on his acupoints had been absorbed cleanly by his body. Time to test my strength. Knowing that it was hard to determine the growth in his physical strength, Xianxia walked over the strength-measuring rock pillar not too far away, raised his fist, and struck it. Catcher! The rock pillar shuddered, and it was nearly broken into pieces. A line of numbers slowly floated into appearance. 9,999 ding? Just a step away from reaching 10,000. Xizuan Realm was also known as 10,000 Ding Realm. Given that Xianxia's strength had reached 9,999 ding, it meant that he was invincible against all those beneath Xizuan Realm. It is a pity that the amount of spirit beast blood essence is too lacking. If I have several dozen more, I might be able to reach Xizuan Realm pinnacle. Xianxia lamented. Even though he had mastered Heaven's Path Golden Body 2 Dan, he knew that his physical strength hadn't reached its cap yet. As long as he had sufficient blood essence, he could continue to cultivate the technique and his strength would continue to rise swiftly. But even so, Xianxia was already contented. Lin Ruoqian was stuck in Xianxia Realm pinnacle for a very long time, and even after using the energy harnessed within the spirit beast blood essence, he only managed to achieve a Xianxia strength of around 9,000 ding. On the other hand, Xianxia's breakthrough was in his physical body, and his physical body strength had reached 9,999 ding. The difficulty in doing so was several folds above that of the former. One's Xianxia could run out in the midst of a battle, but physical strength was constant. On top of that, physical body cultivators possessed nearly invincible defense in comparison to those of the same cultivation realm, allowing them to match with 3 to 4 of Xianxia cultivators easily. But of course, this was assuming that there wasn't a huge disparity in the skills and battle techniques of both sides. With this kind of strength, I'll be able to defeat a Xizuan Realm primary stage cultivator easily, and even when facing a Xizuan Realm intermediate stage expert, I won't be completely helpless. Previously, when Xianxia's strength was still at Xianxia Realm pinnacle, he was already able to easily defeat the half Xizuan Realm Lin Ruoqian, who possessed a strength of more than 9,000 ding. Given that he had managed to achieve such a huge leap in his strength, naturally, his fighting prowess rose significantly as well. At Xizuan Realm primary stage, one's strength would finally break through the 10,000 ding mark. Then, for every increment within the cultivation realm, one's strength would increase by another 10,000 ding, thus granting one the strength of 40,000 ding at Xizuan Realm pinnacle. 9,999 ding of physical body strength, coupled with 5,000 ding of Xianxia strength, added up to a total of 14,999 ding. With such strength, Xianxia was able to rival against Xizuan Realm intermediate stage experts. Seeing the raise in his strength, Xianxia heaved a huge sigh of relief. Previously, Lin Ruoqian had told him that he had informed Princess Consort Lin Long of the matter, so it was highly likely that she would send her men over. Even though Xianxia acted nonchalantly on the surface, he was quite concerned over this matter. Given that he had managed to achieve a huge leap in his strength, he could finally relieve himself of the huge worry in his heart. Heaving a long sigh of relief, Xianxia suddenly remembered that Lu Chong was still in the room. Quickly extracting his consciousness from a storage ring, he turned around to look for Lu Chong, only to see the youngster staring at him with mouth agape and eyes widened into huge circles. The current Lu Chong was experiencing a slight breakdown. As soon as he passed the Lin clan's storage ring over, his teacher had started to go into a daze. After a long moment, he suddenly leaped up, as though suffering from a stroke, and struck the strength-measuring rock pillar. Then, the pillar displayed 9,999 ding of strength. What in the world happened? His teacher had only whipped out a jade bottle, dabbled some crimson liquid on his body, fell into a daze, and his strength immediately surged. Not only did he achieve a breakthrough, he even nearly reached Xianxia realm. How in the world did he do it? All along, Lu Chong thought that he had improved swiftly through the poison tempering, but after seeing his teacher, he realized that it wasn't a big deal at all. Other people would die of old age trying to reach the half Xianxian stage, but his teacher only had to fall into a momentary daze to do so. And not to mention, that daze brought him right to the peak of half Xianxian realm. If word were to spread out, those self-proclaimed geniuses would probably die of shame. This was no longer the feat of a genius, but a monster. Just as he was overwhelmed by shock, he saw his calm teacher looking at him with glowing eyes. Right, do you still have any enemies? Why don't I help you get back at them as well? If not, help me ask Mu Xueqing and the others if they have any. After which, Zhongxian started counting on his fingers. If there are a few more such clans, I'll surely be able to obtain a lot of treasures and secret manuals. If so, I'll have truly struck it rich. Lu Chong. Teacher, aren't you an enlightened expert who have seen through material possession? Aren't you a genius who couldn't care less about those crude objects? Exacting vengeance for others, to confiscate wealth? Why do you seem more and more unlike an enlightened expert, but a greedy ruffian instead? In an instant, Lu Chong felt that he had to reevaluate his opinion of his teacher. But it was no wonder why Zhongxian was so excited. Initially, he only went against the Lin clan because he felt indignant for Lu Chong, who knew that he would suddenly attain such a huge wealth. Putting everything aside, if he could find a few more drops of spirit beast blood essence, through the Heaven's Path Golden Body 2 Dan, he would be able to break through the bottleneck constricting his physical body and reach Xianxian realm. By then, even if he were to head to Shenyuan Kingdom, there would be nothing for him to fear. He would be able to stand tall and mighty there too. While waiting for the other party to respond, the sound of someone knocking on the door suddenly echoed in the classroom. Is Liu Laoshi inside? Lu Chong, you should rest by the side first. Bringing back his authority as a teacher, Zhongxian waved Lu Chong away and sat upright. Then, he replied impassively, is it Sun Laoshi? Please enter. He could recognize the voice of the person outside. It was Mo Hongi, who was disguised as Sun Cheng. It seemed like the poison in his body had been neutralized, and he had recovered from its effects already. Gya. As soon as Zhongxian said those words, a figure immediately rushed in and glared at Zhongxian furiously. With a questioning tone, he bellowed, Liu Laoshi, you should know that your tea is poisoned, right? I only knew after that incident. Honestly speaking, I'm a victim here too. Seeing the other party's look, Zhongxian consoled, someone must be trying to kill me, and you only happened to step right into it and accidentally consume the poison tea that such a matter happened. Don't worry, I'll definitely look into the matter and return your grievance. Redress my grievance? Victim? Victim my head. Hearing Zhongxian's words, Mo Hongi's hair stood on ends, as though a cat who had his tail stepped on, and he erupted into rage. The heck you are a victim. In the end, didn't you end up well? As the #1 genius, not only did I get poisoned, I even fell into the fecal drain. More importantly, redress my grievance? How in the world are you going to redress my grievance when it's your student who poisoned me? What's wrong? Seeing the other party getting angrier and angrier, Zhongxian was perplexed. No one likes to get poisoned, and honestly speaking, how could I know that you would drink the tea from my room? You. All right. Knowing that this fellow was indeed a victim, and he was ignorant of the matter, Mo Hongi suppressed his rage and harumphed. There's no need for you to investigate. I already know who the culprits are. Who? Frowning, Zhongxian's face turned grave. He had been contemplating over this matter for a very long time. He didn't offend anyone in this identity of his, so why in the world would someone want to poison him? If he knew who the culprit was, he would definitely pursue the matter. It's Zheng Yang and the others. I saw them do it personally last night. Oblivious to Zhongxian's thoughts, Mo Hongi harumphed coldly. Zheng Yang. Just as Zhongxian was thinking about how he should teach the other party a lesson, Mo Hongi's words caused him to stagger, and he nearly fell to the ground. It was his own students who poisoned him? What in the world is going on? Xian was shocked, but it didn't take him long to deduce the entire matter. His complexion immediately darkened. Those little bastards! Roaring furiously, Xian stood up abruptly with rage blazing within him. The students of the other teachers were so obedient, yet what was with the students he taught? When they weren't fighting or causing trouble, they were poisoning their own teacher. The heck? If I don't teach them a lesson, I am not Xian. Jiao Wei, what's going on? Given how arrogantly Mu Xueqing acted just now, why didn't you teach her a lesson? In any case, it's Liu Laoshi, and not her. That's formidable, so what rights does she have to be acting so gleefully? On the way back to the residence, Xingyang kept questioned Jiao Wei in displeasure. Zhong Laoshi's reputation has been completely pushed down by that Liu Laoshi. As his student, even if you don't speak for your own teacher, how can you compliment the opponent's teacher? Is there something wrong with you? Teach her a lesson? I think you should think about how you can avoid punishment first. Seeing how the fellow before her had yet to grasp the situation, Jiao Wei replied helplessly. Avoid punishment? What punishment? Xingyang asked doubtfully. At the same time, Liu Yang and Yuan Dao also looked over curiously. They were sharp-witted, but regardless, they were only 15 to 16-year-old children. There were many things which they needed someone to point out to them before they could understand it. Wang Ying, you should explain the situation to them. I'll try to think about how we can apologize to teacher. Jiao Wei grabbed her forehead in frustration. Her original intention was to guard her teacher's honor and bring eminence to him, yet she did manage to make her teacher's name known, but as soon as his true identity was declared in public, he would definitely become a laughingstock. What in the world was this? To think that such a matter could happen. She truly didn't know how to face Zhong Laoshi in the future. Wang Ying, what's wrong? Sensing that this was a huge matter, Xingyang looked at her anxiously. This. Wang Ying's face turned red. I suspect that Liu Laoshi is Zhong Laoshi in disguise. Liu Laoshi is Zhong Laoshi. Xingyang and the others were stunned. Indeed. When fighting against the head of the Lin clan, Liu Laoshi executed Heaven's Path movement art and Heaven's Path leg art. I've seen it clearly, and there's no mistake about it. On top of that, the technique that he used after borrowing Jiao Wei's sword is Heaven's Path sword art which Grand Teacher passed down to Jiao Wei. Furthermore, given how he treated us. Seeing the disbelieving looks of the trio, Wang Ying explained. Liu Laoshi is Zhong Laoshi. Then, the person we poisoned is Zhong Laoshi. And we even scolded him so happily. Yuan Dao, Xingyang, and Liu Yang trembled in shock. Their faces turned pale, and they were on the verge of breaking down. If that was true, then what in the world did they do in the past few days? Teacher had done so much for them, yet all that was on their minds was how they could do him in. The trio felt so stifled that they might spew blood. I want to go to Qianwu Academy to apologize to teacher. After a long moment, Xingyang slowly said with a pale face. I'll go with you. Same here. Yuan Dao and Liu Yang hurriedly nodded. All right. Upon making a decision, the group hurriedly headed toward Qianwu Academy. Knowing that they had to face it sooner or later, Jiao Wei and Wang Ying also tagged along with them. Dong! Before they could reach the academy, the sound of a deafening bell rang. It's from the Master Teacher Pavilion. The group couldn't help but turn toward the source of the ringing. Chapter 392, Envoy from the Headquarters. This sound is the bell from the Master Teacher Pavilion to gather all Master Teachers. Something huge must have happened. Jiao Wei's face tightened in worry. The bell from the Master Teacher Pavilion wouldn't sound for no reason, and when it did, it meant that something urgent and important had occurred. Let's go over to the Master Teacher Pavilion and take a look first. If teacher is in the capital, he'll surely rush over as well. Frowning, Jiao Wei instructed. The bell demanded for the presence of all master teachers. If Liu Laoshi was truly Zhong Laoshi, he should rush there upon hearing the bell as well. Yuan. Xingyang and the others nodded. Thus, The group started heading toward the Master-Teacher Pavilion. "This is the assembly bell? Who rang it?" Standing at the entrance of the Lin clan was Pavilion Master Jiang, who was still in a slight trance after Zhongxian's lecture. Upon hearing the sound, he was taken aback. Not everyone was qualified to ring the bell in the Master-Teacher Pavilion. In the entire Qianwu Kingdom, only the Pavilion Master and the other two-star Master Teachers wielded the rights to do so. However, given that the three of them were here, what in the world was going on? Something urgent must have cropped up. Let's hurry back to take a look. A grave look appeared on Elder Zhu's face. UN. Pavilion Master Jiang nodded. Without any hesitation, he led the group of Master Teachers gathered here back to the Master Teacher Pavilion as quickly as possible. Let's go over and take a look as well. Mo Xianxia and the others also followed them back to the Master Teacher Pavilion. The Master Teacher Pavilion was the foundation of a kingdom. Without their support, putting aside the fact that the kingdom's tier might be lowered, it would also make the kingdom more prone to attacks. At this moment, the sound of the bell reverberated through the entire capital, attracting the attention of countless people. Even Zhongxian and Mo Hongyi were taken aback. "The Master Teacher Pavilion is summoning us, let's go over as well," Mo Hongyi said grimly. UN. Zhongxian nodded. "Teacher." Lu Chong hurried forward. "Find Mu Xueqing and the others, and bring them to the Master Teacher Pavilion." Knowing Lu Chong's intentions, Zhongxian immediately issued him some instructions. Initially, they had agreed on finishing the examination tomorrow. However, since that Mo Hongyi had recovered, and he was going to head there anyway, Zhongxian didn't mind finishing the examination today so that he could be promoted to a 2-star Master Teacher. Not daring to dawdle, Pavilion Master Jiang and the others rushed straight back. It didn't take them too long to arrive at the Master Teacher Pavilion. As soon as they stepped into the guild, an apprentice quickly walked up to them. "Pavilion Master, Elder Zhu." "What happened?" Jiang Shu looked at him with a deep frown sitting on his forehead. "The headquarters sent 2 envoys over. Seeing that there isn't a single Master Teacher here, they instructed me to ring the assembly bell." The apprentice explained. "Envoys from the headquarters?" Gudding, Pavilion Master Jiang's heart skipped a beat. "Bring me over quickly." Upon walking into the main hall, he saw 2 elders seated at the very top of the room. "You're Jiang Shu." Before Jiang Shu could reply, an elder stroked his beard and introduced themselves. "I am Su Fan, and this is Ling Yuheng. We're from the Myriad Kingdom Alliance's Master Teacher Pavilion." "Su Fan? Ling Yuheng?" Pavilion Master Jiang was stunned for a moment before a jolt shot through his entire body. Disbelief shone in his eyes. The 4-star Master Teachers of the Myriad Kingdom Alliance. Su Shi and Ling Shi. Even though Jiang Shu had never been to the Myriad Kingdom Alliance's capital before, Su Shi and Ling Shi were names that all Master Teachers within the Myriad Kingdom Alliance were familiar with. Could they be those 2 legendary figures? Why would they visit Qianwu Kingdom personally? He, that's us. Chuckling, the duo nodded slightly. Their movements and words weren't excessive, and they exuded an extremely peaceful and tranquil feeling. The crowd didn't feel the slightest bit of pressure or intimidation from them. 4-star. Upon hearing their words, the faces of Elder Zhu and the others turned pale, and they nearly fainted on the spot. They were legendary figures who were said to possess the capability to turn stone into gold, and the destructive might to crush mountains and split rivers. Under such rumors, the group subconsciously felt that they lived in a completely different world from the duo. Yet, to think that there would come a day where they would be talking harmoniously. Initially, they were still slightly intrigued about the ringing of the assembly bell. This bell was usually used for emergencies, and only the 2-star Master Teachers had the right to ring it. As 4-star Master Teachers, the duo was more than qualified to ring the assembly bell. However, as 4-star Master Teachers, the duo was indeed more than qualified to ring the assembly bell. "There's no need to get nervous. The purpose of our visit is to look for Zhongxian." Seeing the stiff expressions on the crowd, Su Shi chuckled lightly. His voice was as gentle as a spring wind, and subconsciously, the stiffened bodies of the crowd relaxed, and their tension disappeared. Impartation of heaven's will. Incredible! Sensing the visible changes in their bodies, the crowd was filled with awe for the duo. To dispel their nervousness with a single word, surely they would be able to render them powerless with another. The might of a 4-star master teacher was indeed fearsome. Xianxia. Heaving a sigh of relief, Pavilion Master Jiang asked doubtfully. Xianxia had broken innumerable records of the Master Teacher Pavilion. Even though Jiangxu didn't report the matter to the headquarter had a way of looking into such matters. Given the outstanding results, it would be difficult for Xianxia to not attract any attention. May I know if Xianxia is here? Xianxia looked around the room. Reporting to Xianxia, Xianxia is currently in the midst of his 2-star Master Teacher Trust level test, so he isn't here. Pavilion Master Jiang hurriedly replied. He isn't here. Then, bring me the record crystal of his Master Teacher examination. I want to take a look at the situation. Upon hearing that Xianxia wasn't around, Xianxia issued another instruction. Yes. Not daring to keep such esteemed guests waiting, Pavilion Master Jiang immediately issued the orders, and a master teacher quickly rushed out. Soon, the record crystal that had recorded Xianxia's examination was brought into the main hall. Xianxia and Xianxia glanced at one another. Then, Xianxia stretched his hand forward to slightly tap on the record crystal, and the scene of the examination back then immediately appeared. House of Trust, Supporting Occupation Pavilion, Puppet Hall, Cultivation Technique Ocean, and Unerring Pavilion. Seeing the young man undertake the tests one after another, the initial calmness of Xianxia and Xianxia slowly faded, and eventually, just like the many others who were present that day, it transformed into shock. This. Soon, after watching the entire proceedings, the duo glanced at one another, and they could see the incredulity in each other's eyes. Despite teaching his students for just a couple of days, he managed to induce a trust level of 85 in them at the start of the examination. His soul depth was only 5.1, but in the blink of an eye, it increased all the way of 10.1, scoring 130 points in the Supporting Occupation Pavilion, where the highest possible score should have been 100, inducing the harmonious chiming of the 100 bells in the Cultivation Technique Ocean, and getting it to submit with a bellow uncovering 30 floors in the Unerring Pavilion, reaching Xianxia realm in just a few moments. Despite witnessing his feats personally, they couldn't help but doubt that they were dreaming. Where in the world did this fellow pop out from? How did he manage to achieve such outstanding results? Reporting to Xianxia and Xianxia, I, Jiangxu, can use my reputation as a master teacher to guarantee that Xianxia didn't even know the proceedings of the examination beforehand. All of his records were made on the spot, and the record crystal hasn't been tampered in any way. Seeing the disbelief in their eyes, Jiangxu hurriedly explained. We're still able to tell whether the record crystal has been tampered or not. Xianxia nodded. As a 4-star master teacher, he was more than capable of telling with a single glance whether the person before him was lying or not, and whether the record crystal had been tampered with or not. This was precisely the reason why he found the entire situation inconceivable. Of the kingdoms beneath the Myriad Kingdom Alliance, there didn't seem to be a single one who was as incredible as this Xianxia. But of course, if this wasn't the case, they wouldn't have rushed from the Alliance to such a remote location upon receiving the news. Tell us about the background of this Xianxia. Returning the record crystal, Xianxia probed. Yes, this Xianxia comes from Xianxia Kingdom. After organizing the information on Xianxia in his head, Pavilion Master Jiang replied. Talent wasn't the only factor required for one to become a master teacher, one had to have a clean background as well. It wasn't too difficult for him, as the head of the Master Teacher Pavilion, to look into Xianxia's identity and background. Currently, he's a 3-star painter, 2-star beast tamer, and an apothecary and physician exceeding 3-star. Naturally, he doesn't have the emblems for the latter two yet. Even though his skills have reached the required level, his cultivation is still much too lacking. He's currently at Xianxia Realm Pinnacle, and he has comprehended the partial heart realm of Sword Heart. Jiangxu recounted. Every single point that he brought up caused the shock on Xianxia and Xianxia's faces to deepen, and eventually, the duo became completely numb to his achievements. However, a doubt slowly sprouted in their minds. How in the world did a fellow who originated from such a remote location be skilled in so many occupations? On top of that, to possess such incredible talent as a master teacher? Upon thinking of this, Xianxia couldn't help but raise his doubt. I was perplexed over this matter initially as well, but eventually, I realized that it's because Xianxia's teacher is formidable. Xianxia explained. It's very likely that he's a 4-star master teacher as well, or perhaps even surpassing that level. Oh! The faces of the duo immediately turned grave. What's the name of his teacher? Xianxia. Xianxia. Xianxia and Xianxia frowned. They knew quite a few 4-star and 5-star master teachers, but they had never heard of this name. This Xianxia is currently my teacher as well. Sensing their doubts, Xianxia started to recount how he met Xianxia, and how he eventually acknowledged the other party as his teacher. With just the slightest guidance from him, you were able to tame the Crimson Tiger. On top of that, he was able to tell the flaws in your cultivation in that short fight between you and the Crimson Tiger. Xianxia widened his eyes in shock. Xianxia was also capable of those 2 feats, but he definitely wasn't able to do it as quickly and easily as the other party did. Given how easily that Xianxia did so, not to mention, during the fight between the Crimson Tiger and Xianxia, he was still on the back of an aerial savage beast. The other party's eye of discernment was simply way too formidable. That's right. Xianxia nodded. Honestly, he was filled with earnest respect and admiration for Xianxia. After cultivating the improved cultivation technique that the other party gave him, not only did he recover from his hidden trauma, he could even vaguely sense that he was going to achieve a breakthrough in his cultivation soon. No matter how foolish one was, it would be clear to them that this was all Xianxia's work. With just a casual pointer, he was able to induce such massive effects. Given that Xianxia was his direct disciple, he must have undergone personal tutelage from the other party on a daily basis. Under such circumstances, it wasn't unimaginable for him to be capable of such incredible feats. Is that Xianxia still in the capital? Can you bring me to pay him a visit? Recovering from his shock, Xianxia couldn't help but ask. Even though he had never heard of Xianxia, given how the other party managed to groom an outstanding student like Xianxia and induce such a huge improvement in Xianxia with just a few casual pointers, his ranking as a master teacher must definitely be above theirs. If they could meet and interact with him, they would definitely benefit greatly from the exchange. Teacher is currently in the capital, but he is often out. If the 2 elders wish to meet him, please allow me to first report the matter to him first. Xianxia hurriedly replied. Even though his teacher was in the capital, he was often out of the residence. Also, without teacher's permission, he didn't dare to bring anyone else over, even if the people he was bringing over were 4-star master teachers. We'll be troubling Pavilion Master Jiang then. Xianxia nodded. Just as he was about to continue speaking, Elder Zhu, who had gone out a while ago to settle a few matters, suddenly rushed back anxiously. Xianxia, Xianxia, and Pavilion Master Xianxia and Mo Hongyi have returned and they are currently at the examination hall. It seems like they have decided to end the examination in advance. End the examination in advance. Pavilion Master Jiang froze. It has only been a few days since the examination started, and they have already succeeded in inducing a trust level of 40 among their students in their disguised identity. Chapter 393. Your name. The last test of the 2-star master teacher examination was for them to assume the role of a teacher under another identity and raise the trust level of their student in them to 40 within 10 days. It hadn't even been 7 days, and they were already here. Could it be that their students' trust levels in them had already reached 40? That Xianxia is here too. Hearing the conversation, Xianxia looked over and asked, "What's going on?" It's like this. Pavilion Master Jiang explained the situation in detail. There were several hundred types of 2-star master teacher examination depending on the guild one was in. This was precisely the reason why all of the 1-star master teacher in the guild, and this was including Principal Xie, didn't know that the examination for the duo was to conceal their identity and teach at Qianwu Academy. So that's the case. I'm also quite interested to see how high the trust level Xianxia students have in him under his disguise. After comprehending the situation, Xianxia nodded, turned his head to the side, and asked Xianxia, "Do you want to come along as well?" Xianxia smiled, "I am fine with going over as well, but we have to make some preparations beforehand. As 4-star master teachers, our arrival will surely cause a huge uproar, and the results of the examination might be affected. So, you all shouldn't immediately reveal our identities when we arrive in the examination hall later on. As 4-star master teachers, the two of them possessed esteemed standing. Even the emperor would have to welcome them personally with utmost respect in deference to their position. If news of their arrival were to spread out, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. There was a great possibility that it might affect the accuracy of the results of the test. Xianxia and the others nodded in agreement. Since these two had spoken, who would dare to refute them? The group headed straight for the examination hall, and before they could enter, they could already hear a huge commotion in the area. Why did the bell suddenly ring? I've no idea. Maybe someone is going to take the master teacher examination? However, there doesn't seem to be anything here though. Impossible. Back then, when Xianxia and Moshe were taking the examination, I was here, and the bell wasn't rung then. Pushing the door open, they immediately saw a huge crowd before them. It was the group who had gathered at the entrance of the Lin clan previously. Mo Qianxue, Mu Yangfeng. Many esteemed figures of Qianwu Kingdom were within the crowd. They had all rushed here upon hearing the bell to join in with the commotion, but due to the various restrictions of the Master Teacher Pavilion, they could only wait here. Even until now, they had no idea what was going on. Pavilion Master Jiang is here. Pavilion Master Jiang, what happened? Upon seeing the group walk in, someone among the crowd shouted. Of the group, the most conspicuous person was Pavilion Master Jiang. No one paid any heed to Su Shu and Mo Shu, who were standing at the back. Besides, even if they were to notice them, they wouldn't recognize them anyway. The Myriad Kingdom Alliance was simply too far away, and Su Shu and Ling Shu were figures way beyond them. Pavilion Master Jiang also only managed to recognize them after their introduction. Something did happen, but there's no need to panic. You will all know soon enough. Pavilion Master Jiang shook his hands casually before turning around to discreetly issue some instructions to Elder Zhu. As soon as the trust level of Zhongxian and Mo Hongyi students reach a minimum of 40, he would announce their true identity instantly. In a sense, this could be considered as a huge matter. However, he couldn't say anything about it now. If not, it might affect the final result. After being delegated with some tasks, Elder Zhu backed down, and soon, he led two people in. Zhongxian and Mo Hongyi. But they were still currently in disguise as Liu Cheng and Sun Cheng. It's Guild Master Liu and Sun Laoshe. I've heard of this Sun Laoshe as well. He was also accepted into Qianwu Academy a few days ago, and his lessons are formidable as well. My son attended his lessons and his cultivation immediately soared furiously. To invite the two of them over. Could it be that the Master Teacher Pavilion is going to make an exception for the two of them and grant them the position of a Master Teacher? Grant them the position of a Master Teacher. There has never been such a practice. I reckon that the Master Teacher Pavilion is just going to bestow them with some special privileges or something. Discussion sounded among the crowd once more. These two had made a name for themselves recently, and there were quite a few people who had looked into their backgrounds. Due to several personal circumstances, neither of them were eligible to take on the Master Teacher examination. To be brought here despite their ineligibility. Most probably, the Master Teacher Pavilion was just going to grant them some privileges and protect them. Such matters had happened in the past as well. More than a century ago, there was a teacher whose lessons was incredible, and he made a huge contribution to society. Thus, the Master Teacher Pavilion granted him the title of an honorary elder, and his standing immediately soared. Eventually, even the Qianwu royal family had to treat him as an important guest. Could it be that it was happening again? Wait a moment. If that's the case, why would their students be here then? That's true. Soon, someone noticed that something was amiss. Usually, this kind of bestowment would be announced beforehand. On top of that, this wasn't good enough a reason to knock the assembly bell and have all of the master teachers gather here. And most importantly of all, there was no reason for the duo to bring all of their students here for the ceremony. The crowd here was brought together by Liu Cheng's students. They might not recognize Sun Cheng's students, But upon seeing that Lu Chong, Mu Xueqing, Meng Dao, and the others here, they immediately knew that something was amiss. Actually, they weren't the only confused ones. Mu Xueqing and the others were perplexed as well. Teacher had Lu Chong urgently gather all of them, so they thought that it might be an important matter. They couldn't have imagined that the location they were heading to was the Master Teacher Pavilion. Liu Laoshe wasn't a master teacher, so there shouldn't be any reason for him to be here. The two teachers, who goes first? Pavilion Master Jiang smiled at the duo. Son Laoshe, you should go first. Zhongxian said. Until now, Zhongxian still felt a little guilty that his students were the cause of his suffering. All right then, I'll go first. Mo Hongyi didn't turn down the offer. Beckoning behind him back, two students walked out. You two, go in and test your trust level. Don't let me down. It's them. Upon seeing the duo, Zhongxian was slightly taken aback. He actually recognized the duo. They were the two students whom he met during the public recruitment exercise. One of them detested studying while the other one was on the verge of expulsion. After being accepted into Qianwu Academy and taking over Mu Xueqing's class, Zhongxian had been busy, so he forgot about the duo. To think that they had become Mo Hongyi's students. Back then, Zhongxian had already accurately pointed out the crux of their affliction. As such, Mo Hongyi was able to allocate the most appropriate treatment for their afflictions. It was no wonder why Mo Hongyi was so confident of passing the examination. He had come prepared. Yes. The two students nodded and entered the House of Trust. The procedure was exactly the same as for the one-star master teacher examination. Could this son Laoshe be Mo Hongyi? Taking this scene into sight, Mo Yu suddenly came to a realization. Since Liu Cheng was Zhongxian, then Mo Hongyi, who had taken the two-star master teacher examination alongside him, had to be this son Cheng. Only those who are taking the master teacher examination will have to test the trust level of their students, right? Could it be that these two are intending to take the examination as well? But they don't possess the state of insight. How can they take the examination? Let's wait and see. The answer should be revealed soon. The crowd was completely bewildered by this bizarre turn of events, and a deep crease was etched onto their foreheads. They had absolutely no idea what Pavilion Master Jiang was up to, and why this son Laoshe was bringing his own student here to test their trust level. Wang! A short moment after the entry of the duo, light shone on the door of the House of Trust, and a few digits floated into appearance. The crowd hurriedly took a look. 42. Upon seeing the numbers, Mo Hongyi's tension immediately escaped from him, and he heaved a huge sigh of relief. He was confident that it would exceed 40, but when it came down to it, uncertainty started scratching at his mind. Upon seeing the results, he felt as though a huge weight had been lifted off his chest. Given that he had passed the examination within 10 days, he was, as of now, officially a two-star master teacher. Not bad. Su Shuo and Ling Shi nodded in approval. They had heard of this Mo Hongyi before, and he did possess outstanding talents. In a Tier 1 kingdom, he was indeed a top-notch genius. In fact, even in conferred kingdoms, he would rank among the top. However, in the Myriad Kingdom Alliance, he was still far from matching to the true geniuses. While he wasn't mediocre, his feats wouldn't impress anyone there. Liu Laoshe, it's your turn. Now that Mo Hongyi had passed, the eyes of Pavilion Master Jiang and the other master teachers immediately centered on Zhongxian. All right. Stretching his back lazily, Zhongxian nodded and smiled. If I recall correctly, as long the trust level of a student of mine reaches 40, I would have passed the examination, right? He seemed to recall that a single student was sufficient for the test. If so, there was no need to trouble the rest of them. Indeed. Pavilion Master Jiang nodded. All right. You enter. Surveying the crowd, Zhongxian casually pointed. After several days of interaction with his class, he was confident that the trust level of any single of his students would definitely exceed 40. Since that was the case, there was no need to intentionally cause a ruckus. Cough cough. At times like this, it was best to maintain a low profile. Of course, if Mo Yu and the others were to know his thoughts, they would definitely faint on the spot. Low profile? How in the world do you fit that image? It will already be a miracle if you don't flip the entire world upside down. Yes, teacher. A student walked into the house of trust. His Xianxia. After Xianxia's student walked into the room, the two 4-star master teachers from the headquarters immediately turned their attention to Xianxia. The scene they saw in the record crystal was simply too shocking. They were curious to see if this young man could create another miracle this time. He seems quite confident. Just that, I wonder what his results will be. Stroking his beard, a contemplative look appeared on Xianxia's face. 30 years ago, our guild also used the same test for the 2-star master teacher examination. I recall that there's a genius who managed to induce a trust level of 65 in his student. Nostalgia filled Xia's eyes. The Myriad Kingdom Alliance had once adopted this examination method before as well, and countless geniuses had achieved outstanding results in it. Indeed, that kind of trust level is already comparable to one's parents. To achieve such a level in 10 days, and under disguise at that person's means were indeed outstanding. Xianxia nodded. It would be difficult for even a 3-star master teacher to induce a trust level of 65 in a person within a short period of time, not to mention, in an inconspicuous, disguised identity. To achieve such a result when starting from scratch was indeed a formidable feat, even within the Myriad Kingdom Alliance. But of course, this was only limited to the Myriad Kingdom Alliance. In higher-tiered empires, there were even more absurd geniuses. This Xianxia has managed to make so many news records. I wonder if he can surpass the previous genius's record of 65. Xianxia said. Only if he breaks that record will he have the right to compete with those people. The duo spoke using telepathy, so no one could hear their words. Just as they were discussing, the door of the House of Trust swayed, and a few digits floated into appearance. 61. Chapter 395, Xianxia, Accept Me. The trust level's cap was 100, and anything above 90 was considered to be at the pinnacle. Usually, this was a relationship that only existed between 6-star master teachers and their students. A trust level above 95 was even rarer. At the very least, at their level, Su Shu and Ling Shi had never heard of it. This kind of trust level was known as impeccable trust, life and death companions. In other words, with this kind of trust level, under the instructions of his teacher, the student wouldn't hesitate to charge to his death. Su Shu and Ling Shi could only feel the world rotating around them. A moment ago, they thought that Xianxia was inferior to those top-notch geniuses, and only now did they realize that the other party had only chosen not to bring out his best student. A trust level of 99. Putting everything aside, even their students whom they have taught for more than 30 years didn't reach this level. Yet, in just 6 days, this fellow. How could there be such an incredible monster? Trust level of 99. So high. The room immediately burst into commotion. There were many clan heads and elders in the examination hall. Even though they weren't master teachers, they still knew what trust level meant. To reach the level of 99. This was beyond their imagination. Such a feat sent them into a frenzy. How could he be an ordinary teacher with this kind of trust level? Even master teachers wouldn't be able to achieve such results, someone shouted. Only with the trust of one student would one be able to teach properly. Thus, trust had always been an important factor between the relationship of a master teacher and a student. To be capable of such a feat, could it be that this Liu Laoshi was a master teacher? They had never considered this possibility, but at this moment, they couldn't help but doubt this matter. All right, since the examination has ended, allow me to announce the news that I spoke of earlier. Seeing the doubtful expression on the crowd, Pavilion Master Jiang chuckled. Turning to Xianxia and Mo Hongyi, he said, "You can take off your masks now." UN. Knowing that they had passed their examination and it was time for them to revert back to their original identity, their hands reached for their faces and tore off their masks. It's Xianxia. Liu Laoshi is Xianxia. No wonder. All along, I've thought it was weird that 2 geniuses could appear in the capital all of the sudden. To think that they were the same person. In my entire life, I've only admired 2 people, and now it has dropped down to 1. A ruckus broke out in the examination hall. The 2 geniuses that appeared in the capital recently had been a topic of contention, and many fans and haters had been arguing as to who was superior. Yet, to think that they were the same person. The heck? Surely there was a mistake somewhere? If so, didn't it mean that this Xianxia was also a monster in the way of medicine and swordsmanship as well? Liu Laoshi is Xianxia. Upon seeing the other party take off his mask and hearing the discussions of the crowd, Mu Xueqing, Lu Chong, and the others were dumbstruck. A while ago, out of admiration for Xianxia, they had desired to have him take their class. However, they knew that it was impossible. To think that their dreams then actually came true. Happiness came so quickly. Liu Laoshi was actually Xianxia. If only they'd known earlier, they wouldn't have bothered competing with Zhao Ya and the others. They fought so heatedly with one another, only to realize that they were rooting for the same person. Indeed. Standing at the back of the crowd, Zhao Ya and the others, who had just arrived at this moment, smiled bitterly. Even though they had their guesses about this matter, seeing this sight personally still astounded them. This was especially so for Zheng Yang and Yuan Dao. The 2 of them were already on the verge of tears, and if they could, they'd knock their heads against the ground and die. As students, they actually poisoned their own teacher. What in the world was this? They had truly brought Zhong Laoshi shame this time. Guild Master Liu is Xianxia. Mo Qianxue was also taken aback. He glanced at his daughter and shook his head helplessly. Before, he'd thought that Xianxia was beyond their reach, so he had his daughter interact more with Guild Master Liu, earning his favor if possible. But from the looks of this was just wishful thinking on his part. A genius of that caliber was bound for the vast world outside. Qianwu Kingdom wasn't big enough to confine him, and it was a matter of time before he spread his wings to reach even higher heights. After unmasking, All kinds of thoughts flashed through the minds of the crowd. However, what that dominated the minds of most was astonishment. No one could have imagined that Guild Master Liu, who caused a huge uproar in the capital, and the great genius Xianxia would be the same person. After all, the both of them possessed different levels of cultivation and appearances. Also, their background was flawless, and all the evidence proved that they were two different people. Here's your emblems. Knowing that there would be such a sight, Pavilion Master Jiang paid it no heed. He took out 2 emblems and passed them over to the duo. Since they had passed the examination, from today onward, they were 2-star master teachers. Everyone, since Xianxia and Mo Shi have passed the 2-star master teacher examination, they'll have to head to the teacher acknowledgement hall to seek the ancestors' acknowledgement. Thus, we'll leave first. Placing the emblem into the palms of the duo, Pavilion Master Jiang smiled and clasped his fist toward the crowd. All right, we'll be leaving now. Since this is the tradition of the Master Teacher Pavilion, we shan't impose on you all then. In any case, being able to personally witness a trust level of 99 between a student and teacher and the unveiling of Liu Laosh's true identity as Xianxia, this trip isn't wasted. Knowing the meaning behind the other party's words, the crowd bade their farewells. The reason why they came here was to uncover the reason behind the ringing of the assembly bell. Being able to witness the final proceedings of the 2-star master teacher examination made this trip one worth taking. Today's matter would surely spread across the 13 surrounding kingdoms in the fastest time possible. Xianxia would soon become the idol of countless people. Soon, only the master teachers were left in the examination hall. Xianxia and Mo Shi, since you two have passed the 2-star master teacher examination, then going by our traditions, we'll have to bring you all to the ancestors to seek their recognition, as well as to explain the responsibilities and duties of a master teacher to the 2 of you. Let's head to the teacher acknowledgement hall together. After the crowd left, Pavilion Master Jiang started speaking. UN. Aware of this rule, Xianxia nodded. Then, following behind Pavilion Master Jiang, he headed out of the examination hall. The teacher acknowledgement hall wasn't too far away from the examination hall. In just a few footsteps, the group reached their destination. Countless ancestral tablets filled the room, and a massive statue stood at the very center of the room. Holding onto a scroll in his hands, he had an imposing appearance. This. Catching sight of the tablet, Xianxia's head jolted. Confusion blinked into his eyes. It's that old geezer. He just met that man this morning, right after he was conferred as a celestial master teacher. Not only did the other party pull him into an illusion, he even demanded him to become his student. Back then, Xianxia rejected him flatly. To think that there would be a statue of him in the teacher acknowledgement hall. Who's this old geezer? Is he the previous pavilion master? Why would the statue of this shameless fellow be placed here? Recalling how the other party tried to do him in secretly, Xianxia felt a little frustrated. Turning to Pavilion Master Jiang, he pointed to the statue and questioned righteously. What in the world was this? The teacher acknowledgement hall was such an important location, yet the statue of that despicable old geezer was actually placed here. Wasn't this way too inappropriate? Old geezer. Pavilion Master Jiang, Su Shi, Ling Shi, and the few other master teachers tagging along turned pale, and they nearly fainted on the spot. This was Kong Shi, the greatest teacher in history. No matter who it was, even if one was a 9-star master teacher, one would have to bow to him with utmost respect. Yet, to address him as old geezer. The heck. You must be mad. Audacious. Fling his sleeves, Su Shi roared furiously. I'm speaking the truth. This fellow assaulted me. Upon recalling that sight, Xianxia couldn't help but feel frustrated. Just as he was about to continue speaking, he suddenly froze. Turning to Su Shi with a doubtful gaze, he asked, "Who are you? Where did you come from? Is this your place to speak?" There were a total of 13 1-star master teachers and 3 2-star master teachers in Qianwu Kingdom. Adding Mo Hongyi and him, there was a total of 5 2-star master teachers now. Xianxia had met all of them before, and other than them, there was no one who could match up to his current standing in Qianwu Kingdom. The hierarchy among master teachers was strict, and lower-ranked master teachers weren't allowed to talk back to higher-ranked ones. Didn't this old fellow know that he was a 2-star master teacher? Wasn't he afraid of being charged with insubordination? Pavilion Master Jiang, Vice Pavilion Master Guan, Elder Zhu, and the others tugged at their head in frenzy. Criticizing Kong Shi as a shameless, old geezer was already sufficient to send everyone into a frenzy. And yet, now you're criticizing a 4-star master teacher in public? All of the master teachers who followed along felt as though they were going mad. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly before the 2 4-star master teachers for fear of incurring their displeasure. Yet, this fellow criticized one of them to his face. Do you need to be so courageous? Don't worry. Su Shi and I came from afar, and Pavilion Master Jiang hasn't introduced us yet. So, it's natural for Zhong Shi to not recognize us. Sensing the awkwardness in the atmosphere, Xianxia spoke up. Master teachers needed to have a disposition and attitude befitting of their positions. They had concealed their identity intentionally, so it wasn't surprising for the other party to not know the truth. Seeing how respectful your tone is, I'll forgive you this time around. Zhong Xian nodded. Given the earnest attitude of the other party, Zhong Xian couldn't be bothered to pursue this matter either. Cough cough. Upon seeing that his words had earned him the forgiveness of the other party, Xianxia immediately choked on his saliva. Given that the other party didn't know their identity, he couldn't be blamed for his lack of respect. Thus, instead of dawdling on the issue, Su Shi began to introduce the statue. I was rash just now. Once I introduce the person the statue is modeled after, you will understand the reason behind my words. In the teacher acknowledgement hall, even 9-star master teachers were only given the rights to have their names marked on the ancestral tablets. Yet, the massive statue is placed right in the center of the hall. Can't you guess his identity? His identity. Zhong Xian was taken aback. As soon as he saw the old geezer's appearance, he immediately recalled how the other party assaulted him when he was off guard, and clouded by rage, he immediately spoke without thinking. Thinking of it now, there was indeed something amiss. Marked on the ancestral tablets were 8-star, 9-star master teachers whose name and feats shook the entire continent. Even so, their names were only inscribed on the tablets. Yet, this person had a gigantic statue placed at the very center of the room. This, in itself, already said a lot about the identity of the person. Could he be? A possibility flashed across his mind, and Zhong Xian widened his eyes in shock. Indeed, his Kong Shi. Su Shi stroked his beard. As the founder of the Master Teacher Pavilion, all newly appointed master teachers are to pay respect to him. Kong Shi. Zhong Xian was stunned. He had been looking into Kong Shi's affairs to uncover the cure for the innate fetal poison all along. However, perhaps due to the remote location or that too long a time had passed, there wasn't too much information on the other party left in this world. Eventually, even with the help of the Library of Heaven's Path, the only solution Zhong Xian got was that he had to become a 9-star master teacher to resolve this poison. Thus, he intended to head to higher-tiered master teacher pavilions to continue looking into the matter, but who could have thought that? Kong Shi tried to take him in as his student, yet he, straightforwardly, rejected him? Old geezer. Ah, no, Kong Shi. I agree to it. Take me in as your student. Take me in as your student. With a pale face, Zhong Xian howled before diving straight toward the statue with glowing eyes. Su Shi and Xianxia. Pavilion Master Jiang and the other master teachers. Chapter 396. Acknowledgement of the ancestors. This was Kong Shi, the incredible figure who founded the Master Teacher Pavilion. If Zhong Xian was accepted as his student, not only could he learn the solution to solving the innate fetal poison, he would even gain a huge backer. If he were to become the student of such a formidable figure, he would probably get at least a few thousand spirit stones as an acceptance gift. Otherwise, it would be unbefitting of his title as the world's teacher. If only I knew that you are Kong Shi, I wouldn't have rejected you so haughtily. I would have surely agreed to it immediately. Zhong Xian felt so regretful that his intestines were turning green. To reject even Kong Shi's admittance, was there a person who was more foolish than him in this world? If he knew that such a matter would occur, he would have at least flipped through some books to take a look at Kong Shi's appearance. If he knew who this old geezer was, he wouldn't have made such a foolish decision. Xianxia, Xianxia has already been dead for many years. This is only his statue, and it doesn't possess consciousness. Seeing the fellow before him going into a frenzy, Xianxia hurriedly stepped forward to persuade him. Xianxia had departed from the world many years ago, and what was left in his statue was just his lingering will. Putting aside your crying, it will be useless even if you were to smash this statue. Take you in? Do you think that it's that easy to become Xianxia's student? Could it be that it isn't him? Different from Xianxia's reaction, Pavilion Master Jiang, Elder Zhu, and the others glanced at one another doubtfully. This morning, they had witnessed the bestowment of the title of Celestial Master Teacher and the act of Xianxia accepting a disciple for themselves. And they remembered clearly how that person rejected him on the spot. All along, they had been thinking that it was Xianxia, but from the looks of it, that didn't seem to be the case. After all, just by looking at the desire and anticipation on his face, how could he have possibly given up such a good opportunity? But of course, if Xianxia were to know their thoughts, he would probably burst into tears. Do you think that I wanted that to happen? It's because I didn't recognize him. Doesn't possess consciousness? I see. Lifting his head to take another look at the statue, he confirmed that there wasn't any spirit within it, unlike the situation before. Thus, Xianxia could only shake his head helplessly. Even so, he secretly sneaked his hand over and touched the statue. Who? A book appeared in the Library of Heaven's Path, a statue produced in Luohai City from a 9-mo craftsman. It was created by roasting deep ocean soil for 49 days, giving it a durability that could even last past a millennium. Flaws. Pu. Xianxia's body swayed. There was no doubt about it. What was before him was just a simple statue. To think that he passed up the opportunity to become Xianxia's disciple. Such a huge waste. Let's begin. Seeing that the genius Xianxia had finally reverted back to his normal state, Xianxia gestured. UN. Pavilion Master Jiang stepped forward and said, "You two have passed the examination and obtained your Master Teacher emblems, but to be acknowledged by the other Master Teachers, you all must gain the acknowledgement of the ancestors first. If you succeed, the ancestors will bestow you a unique aura. Even without your emblem, through exuding this aura, other Master Teachers will still be able to recognize you." Even though Xianxia and Lingxia didn't take out their emblems just now, and all they had said was their names, Pavilion Master Jiang didn't doubt their words at all. This was because of a unique aura that they exuded which confirmed their identities. Succeed? Does that mean that there are people who aren't acknowledged? Xianxia asked doubtfully. Of course. The acknowledgement depends on the will of the ancestors. Every single tablet possesses a lingering spirit. Even though they don't possess consciousness, they are capable of determining whether a person is truly qualified to become a master teacher or not. Smiling, Pavilion Master Jiang pointed to the front. You both only need to kneel here. When an ancestor acknowledges you, his tablet will fall. With every acknowledgement, you will earn a surge of aura. The more ancestors who acknowledge you, the greater the surge of aura will be. This is also an indication of their approval of your talent, and their belief in your capability to reach greater heights. I see. Xianxia came to an understanding. Since he took the 2-star Master Teacher straight away, he had never been here, so he wasn't too sure of the proceedings. On the other hand, Mo Hongyi, already being experienced in this matter, wasn't too surprised by the process. If one fails to earn the acknowledgement of any ancestor, will one lose their Master Teacher qualification? Since there were those who weren't acknowledged by any as well, what would happen to them? They couldn't possibly strip a person of his license after all the hard work he put into passing the examination just because some tablets refused to acknowledge them. Of course not. Pavilion Master Jiang shook his head. Actually, it's common for one not to be recognized. The owners of these tablets were all powerful figures in their lifetime, and they only acknowledged those who managed to catch their eye. Under normal circumstances, the chances of a 1-star Master Teacher being recognized are less than 1%. Even for 2-star Master Teacher, the chances are only at 10%. 10%. The crowd was dumbstruck. This percentage was really way too low. At 3-star, the possibility will be raised to 20%. At 4-star, 40%, and at 5-star, 70%. Only 6-star master teachers have a 100% possibility of being acknowledged. However, the number of tablets that fall for them would be a completely different matter. Pavilion Master Jiang nodded. Even though they didn't have any master teachers beyond 2-star in their guild, this was all basic knowledge. As the Pavilion Master, he was well aware of such details. Xianxia finally understood the difficulty of the matter. A 6-star master teacher was a powerful expert whose stomp could cause an entire region to tremble regardless of where he went. Even the entire Myriad Kingdom Alliance could be easily destroyed before the might of such a figure. Yet, one had to reach such a level before there was a 100% chance they could be acknowledged. From this, the difficulty of the matter was clear to see. Receiving the acknowledgement from the ancestors is an honor. Those who've received the acknowledgement of more ancestors tended to be more talented, and most of them went on to achieve great things in the future. The most famous genius in the Myriad Kingdom Alliance, Zheng Ruohuan, managed to pass the 4-star master teacher examination before reaching his 30s, and his feat became a legend among the master teachers in the Myriad Kingdom Alliance. Back then, when he passed his 2-star master teacher examination, he earned the acknowledgement from 7 of the tablets. Xianxia turned to look at Xianxia and smiled. If the greatest genius in Qianwu Kingdom was Xianxia, then Zheng Ruohuan was, indubitably, the #1 genius of the Myriad Kingdom Alliance, becoming a 4-star master teacher under 30. Xianxia was astounded. All of the master teachers he knew were mostly in their 70s and 80s. Under such a trend, to be able to pass the 4-star master teacher examination below 30 was indeed a formidable feat, and it bore testimony to the other party's talents. In comparison to him, even the #1 genius of Qianwu Kingdom Mo Hongyi lost his radiance. The further one progressed as a master teacher, the more difficult the examinations became, the greater the demand on one's soul depth. Many talented experts ended up being stuck at 3-star for their entire life, unable to take the final leap to become a 4-star master teacher. Based on the classification of the guild headquarters, one was considered a primary master teacher from 1-star to 3-star, an intermediate master teacher from 4-star to 6-star, and an advanced master teacher from 7-star to 9-star. There was a huge gap in standing between 3-star to 4-star. It was as though the distance between Tongxian Realm and Xianxia Realm, and ordinary people couldn't hope to make the leap. There's no need for you two to feel pressured about this. It's best to be acknowledged, but if not, there is no need for you two to worry. For the past 300 years, there hasn't been a person who succeeded before. All I hope is for a single exception to happen while I am still the Pavilion Master so that I can brag about it when I visit the other pavilions. Pavilion Master Jiang smiled bitterly. UN. Xianxia nodded. He was initially a little tense over the matter, but after learning that it wasn't necessary, he heaved a sigh of relief. But that was to be expected. Different master teachers had different expectations. It was possible for a talented master teacher to not meet the eyes of any of the ancestors. Besides, the owners of those tablets had already turned into dust, and all that was left of them was just a lingering will. It shouldn't be a big deal even if one failed to win their acknowledgement. Mo Shi, you should go first. After explaining the entire matter, Pavilion Master Jiang beckoned Mo Hongyi forward. Yes. Mo Hongyi nodded. There was a grim look on his face. Back then, when he was still a 1-star master teacher, he failed to earn the acknowledgement of any of the ancestors. As the #1 genius of Qianwu Kingdom, especially after hearing the deeds of Zheng Ruohuan, his motivation suddenly surged. If he were to succeed, he would leave a mark in history. At the very least, he wouldn't pale too much in comparison to Xianxia. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward and kneeled onto the prayer mat at the very center of the room. Descendant Mo Hongyi pays respect to the ancestors, and I earnestly plead for your acknowledgement. His voice was crisp. After finishing his words, his entire body bent forward, nearly touching the floor. How is it? Xianxia hurriedly turned his attention to the tablets. The other master teachers, including Su Shu and Ling Shu, also looked over in interest as well. Mo Hongyi was the most talented genius in Qianwu Kingdom for the past millennium. Despite his young age, he had already passed the 2-star master teacher examination. Putting aside the monster, Xianxia, he was famous even in Shenyuan Kingdom. If such a person couldn't earn the acknowledgement of the ancestors, then the test of the teacher acknowledgement hall was indeed too difficult. No one dared to speak, and the entire room fell so silent that even a pin drop could be heard. Catcher! After a long period of time, just as everyone thought that there was no hope, a tablet fell over. Boom! Then, a surge of green aura flew from the depths of the hall and shrouded Mohongi. This is the same unique aura from the bestowment of Celestial Master Teacher. Upon seeing the aura, Xianxia was taken aback. Back when Xianxia was bestowed the title of Celestial Master Teacher, he had been shrouded by a unique aura which swiftly increased his soul depth. To think that the acknowledgement from the ancestral tablets in the Teacher Acknowledgement Hall would have the same effects. It was no wonder why a Celestial Master Teacher would be acknowledged by other Master Teachers even without an emblem. So, the aura that the others were talking about referred to this. How sparse! After confirming the identity of the green aura, Xianxia couldn't help but shake his head. When he became a Celestial Master Teacher, the green aura was as thick as billowing smoke, but the surge shrouding Mohongi was only around the thickness of a finger. This was just like the difference between a raging river and a small stream. In a few breaths, Mohongi managed to absorb it cleanly. Delight showed clearly on Mohongi's face as he stood up. He couldn't suppress the exhilaration in his heart. Even though only one ancestral tablet had fallen for him, he had at least won the acknowledgement of a single ancestor. With this, he had broken the record of the Qianwu Kingdom Master Teacher Pavilion for the past few centuries. Incredible! As expected of the #1 genius of our kingdom. Finally, one of our master teachers is acknowledged. Good. That old fellow Zhao Shui won't be able to brag about this matter before me anymore. Upon seeing this sight, Pavilion Master Jiang, Elder Zhu, and the others couldn't help but exclaim excitedly. None of the master teachers in Qianwu Kingdom had ever earned the acknowledgement of the ancestors before. Seeing this sight before them, they couldn't hold back their agitation anymore. Not bad. To earn the acknowledgement of an ancestor as a 2-star master teacher, you have a bright future in front of you. Even I only managed to earn their acknowledgement upon reaching 3-star. Xianxia nodded in approval. Being approved at 3-star is already an incredible feat. I only managed to have a single tablet fall for me after becoming a 4-star master teacher. Seems like the talent of Moshe is indeed incredible. Lingxia chuckled. Even Xianxia and Lingxia failed to be recognized when they were still 2-star master teachers. From this, the difficulty of this trial was clear to see. Alright, now that Moshe has obtained the approval of an ancestor, Xianxia, it's your turn. Recovering from his shock, Pavilion Master Jiang turned to Xianxia. The crowd immediately turned their attention to Xianxia as well. Chapter 397. Kongshi's statue breaks. All right. Xianxia nodded. As a celestial master teacher, the acknowledgement of these ancestors didn't mean much to him. However, since he was here, he was also curious to see how many of their acknowledgements he could receive. Thus, walking forward to the praying mat, he took a deep breath and knelt down. Descendant Xianxia pays respect to the ancestors, and I earnestly plead for your acknowledgement. Then, Xianxia bowed deeply, just as Mohongi did earlier. Everyone immediately turned their gazes to the ancestral tablets. Even the 4-star master teachers, Xianxia and Lingxia, felt a little nervous as well, and they clenched their fists tightly. This fellow had created too many miracles. Perhaps, he might be able to break Jun Ruohuan's record. Everyone waited expectantly with bated breaths. The hall fell completely silent. However, the ancestral tablets remained fixated on their spot, and there was no sign of them falling over at all. It can't be that he failed to earn the acknowledgement of all of the ancestors. After a while, the master teachers in the hall glanced at one another in bewilderment. This Xianxia had broken so many records, and the trust level of a student he taught even reached a shocking 99. He should be able to earn the respect of quite a handful of experts. Why wasn't there any movement at all? This was way too peculiar. Usually, the tablets will fall within a T's time. The time has already passed, but there isn't any movement. Seems like it's a failure. After another moment of silence, Pavilion Master Jiang roughly calculated the timing, and a look of disappointment appeared on his face. Based on the results of the two, since Mo Hongyi was able to earn the acknowledgement of one of the ancestors, Xianxia should be able to earn the acknowledgement of quite a few. Yet, the current situation broke all preconceptions they had. He couldn't help but feel slightly under. Talent and strength aren't the determining factors for the ancestors' acknowledgement. Rather, it's whether you are suited to be his student or not. After a moment later, Xianxia spoke up. It could be that Xianxia's talents are too high, and they feel pressured. The explanation felt shaky to even Xianxia, but this was the only reason he could find. Otherwise, it made totally no sense for the less talented Mo Hongyi to succeed and the more talented Xianxia to fail. Indeed, that must be the case. Otherwise, how could not earn even a single acknowledgement from the ancestors? Smiling bitterly, Pavilion Master Jiang was just about to continue speaking when Vice Pavilion Master Guan pointed over and said, "Wait, something is amiss." "Look there." Everyone hurriedly raised their heads, but the ancestral tablets were still completely still. Vice Pavilion Master Guan. Jiang Shu looked at him doubtfully. "I'm not referring to the tablets, but..." Vice Pavilion Master Guan's face turned pale, and his lips quivered in fear. "But... Xianxia's statue." Everyone froze for a moment before swiftly turning their gazes to the massive statue. The statue, which was fixated to the ground, suddenly swayed. "The statue is swaying." Not only was the crowd surprised, even Xianxia and Lingxia were perplexed over this phenomenon. They had seen the tablets fall over before, but they'd never heard of Xianxia swaying. "It's not swaying." Just as everyone was stunned by this bizarre occurrence, Pavilion Master Jiang suddenly realized something and exclaimed, "Xianxia, watch out." Before he could finish his words, "Jia," the gigantic Xianxia statue fell to the floor. The location where Xianxia was bowing toward was right in front of the statue, and the statue fell straight towards his head. The hell? Xianxia, who was kneeling and awaiting the acknowledgement of the ancestors, couldn't possibly have expected that such a huge statue would fall on him. His complexion immediately turned awful. Knowing that it was too late for him to avoid, he hurriedly stood up and faced it head-on. Pang! His fist and the statue collided together. On top of being a Xianxia realm pinnacle expert, Xianxia possessed a physical strength of 9,999 ding. No matter how resilient the Xianxia statue was, it was made of mud, so how could it withstand the might of his fist? Boom! It exploded from the center. Hualala! The moment Xianxia's statue was broke apart, the sound of beans popping sounded, and the ancestral tablets in the room hurriedly fell down. Then, Jia! Jia! The entire teacher acknowledgement hall began to shake as well. Escape! Pavilion Master Jiang's face paled, and he hurriedly shouted. Then, he darted out of the hall with a group of master teachers. Not daring to hesitate at all, Xianxia also dashed out. The moment he left the room, boom, the grand hall collapsed inward. Dust flew in the air, and smoke billowed. What the heck just happened? Pavilion Master Jiang and the other master teachers were completely dumbfounded. They hurriedly turned to the stunned youngster standing not too far away, and an urge to strangle him to death welled up within them. When other people paid respect to the ancestors, they either got acknowledged or ignored. Yet, when it was his turn, not only did he destroy Xianxia's statue, he even tore down the entire teacher acknowledge hall. What was wrong with you? Xianxia is the world's teacher, an existence whom everyone respects. Even if his statue was going to fall on you, shouldn't you at least support him? To face him with a fist? What was going through your head? To make a move on Xianxia? That is enough of you. All of the master teachers felt a spell of dizziness. The young man before them stared at the ruins, and scratching his head, he asked, Have I been acknowledged? Acknowledged? Acknowledged your head? Everyone was on the verge of tears. You destroyed Xianxia's statue and tore down the ancestral hall. How in the world can you still hope for others to acknowledge you? In truth, Xianxia was breaking down within as well. He was fine with not being acknowledged, but what in the world was with that falling statue? Since it was durable to the extent of being able to last for beyond a millennium, its toughness was already far beyond that of ordinary rocks. If he didn't strike back and allow it to fall on his head, even if his physical body was strong enough to endure it, he would probably suffer a concussion. This old geezer must be trying to get back at me. Xianxia was speechless. Back then, he refused to acknowledge Kong Shi as his teacher, so the other party must be trying to get back at him for that. Otherwise, why would such a huge statue suddenly fall on him? And for the entire teacher acknowledgement hall to fall along with it? How was he supposed to resolve the situation now? No one is to talk about what happened today. After a moment of silence, Xianxia scanned the surroundings and instructed. The destruction of Kong Shi's statue and the collapsing of the teacher acknowledgement hall were no different from having the tomb of one's ancestor being ransacked. If news were to spread out, others would definitely laugh their heads off. The prestige of their master-teacher pavilion would be whittled down. Thus, the only thing they could do now was to seal the news. It was fortunate that there were only a handful of people present, and given their standing, they would surely be reluctant to speak of such a shameful affair. Yes. The crowd nodded. All right, it's nothing much to not be acknowledged. Since you two have become master teachers, allow me to introduce you two to your responsibilities and duties as master teachers. Knowing that it was a waste of time to discuss this matter, Pavilion Master Jiang immediately changed the topic. As a teacher, one's role is to impart knowledge and clarify doubts. As a master teacher, this is even more so expected of you. Back then, when Kong Shi established the Master Teacher Pavilion, he only had a single vision in mind. That is, for everyone to become an expert. For everyone to become an expert. Mo Hongyi and Xianxia frowned. Indeed. Even though our world may seem peaceful on the surface, that's actually not the case. A grim expression appeared on Pavilion Master Jiang. Back in Kong Shi's era, humans weren't the only dominant race in the continent. There was another powerful race, the otherworldly demonic tribe. Otherworldly demonic tribe. UN. It's an extremely powerful race, and every single one of them possesses the strength of a Xizuan realm expert from birth. Back then, humans who were captured by them ended up as their slaves for life. Pavilion Master Jiang slowly explained. Eventually, under Kong Shi's leadership, the human race managed to emerge triumphant. He then established the Master Teacher Pavilion and promoted the heritage of equality of education, hoping that all humans could gain sufficient strength to fend for themselves. This. Xianxia was shocked. Even though he had a huge collection of books in the Library of Heaven's Path, such ancient secrets weren't written in any one of the books, so he had never heard of it before. He could have never imagined that there would be such a powerful race in the world, possessing the strength of a Xizuan realm from birth. Do you two know why poison masters are despised and unrecognized by the other occupations? Pavilion Master Jiang asked. Xianxia and Mo Hongyi glanced at one another doubtfully before shaking their heads. Even though the ability of poison masters to kill others discreetly induces fear in others, their expertise contributes a lot to the human race as well. Even so, the other occupations still despised them. The reason for it isn't just fear and worry, but back then, they once allied with the otherworldly demonic tribe and helped them to bring harm to their human counterparts. Pavilion Master Jiang explained. The duo immediately came to a realization. Actually, Xianxia had also been perplexed over this matter. Poison masters were indeed fearsome foes, but they weren't a deranged bunch who poisoned everyone they met. Not to mention, poison was, by no means, omnipotent too. He didn't think that there was a need to be so guarded against them, going to the extent of chasing them out of the cities and exiling them to remote corners such as the Red Lotus Range. However, after hearing this news, he realized that it was due to the unforgivable deeds that poison masters had once done. As time passed, the grudges were forgotten, but habits die hard, thus resulting in the current circumstances. Even today, poison masters remained a feared existence. No one was willing to provoke them, but their name remained sullied. All right, you two are just 2-star master teachers, and this matter has already passed. The otherworldly demonic tribe no longer exists, so there's no need for you to ponder so much over it. Pavilion Master Jiang smiled. Even though the danger from the otherworldly demonic tribe has passed, the heritage of the master teachers continues on to this day. As long as you are a member of the Master Teacher Pavilion, you're expected to fulfill the role of a teacher, follow the rules of the Master-Teacher Pavilion, and enlighten the masses. It is not because of our title as Master Teachers, but because of our role in enlightening the masses that we are given unparalleled standing and esteem. Then, Pavilion Master Jiang's face grew stern. If I were to learn that any of you two were to commit atrocities and infringe the rules, even if I didn't do anything, other master teachers would definitely find you and purge you.
Yes. Xianxia and Mo Hongyi nodded.
Remember, being a master teacher isn't an honor or a standing, it's a responsibility and a duty. A true master teacher should always have his students' welfare in his mind. Only by fulfilling our role will we be acknowledged and respected by others. After delegating his instructions, Pavilion Master Jiang shook his hands casually and said, "All right, I've already said all that I need to. Let's go to the main hall. I'll introduce you two to Su Shi and Ling Shi."
UN.
The duo answered, and the three of them headed to the main hall of the Master Teacher Pavilion. No one noticed a slight unique aura slowly seeping out from each of the innumerable ancestral tablets and Kong Shi's statue. Gathering together, they formed a huge torrent. However, as there wasn't anyone to accept it, it slowly dissipated with time, as though it had never appeared before. Chapter 398, Rejection of the Ancestors, Sorrowful Chimes of the Bell. In the conference hall of the Myriad Kingdom Alliance's Master Teacher Pavilion. I believe that everyone should know of the matter. I hope that you all can try your best so that our name won't be sullied. The austere elder seated on the center seat gestured grandly. The head of the Myriad Kingdom Alliance's Master Teacher Pavilion, 4-star Pinnacle Master Teacher, Pavilion Master Kangan. Pavilion Master, rest assured. We will do our best to find the most suitable candidate so as to not sully the name of our Myriad Kingdom Alliance. I've been informed that Elder Su and Elder Ling heard of a genius in Shenyuan Kingdom. They rushed there a few days ago. Elder Bai and Elder Lu heard that there's a genius who passed the Master Teacher examination at Kaiyuan Kingdom, and they rushed there 8 days ago as well. The elders in the hall hurriedly answered. These elders were dressed in the robes specially crafted for master teachers, and an emblem sat on their chest, reflecting their ranks. There were several 4-star master teachers in the hall, and even the weakest of those present was a 2-star. The radiance that shone off their emblems was dazzling. Good. Make preparations in advance to welcome and groom them. In the past, our Myriad Kingdom Alliance's ranking has always been at the very bottom. This time, we must show them that our geniuses don't lose out to them in any way. The Pavilion Master harumphed. UN. The crowd nodded. Just as they were about to continue discussing, a bell suddenly sounded. It carried deep sorrow in its chiming, as though something tragic had happened. Dong 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 dong. Then, innumerable bells started sounding as well. What's going on? Pavilion Master Kang abruptly stood up. That direction, the Teacher Acknowledgement Hall. Ascertaining the direction where the sound came from, a master teacher's face suddenly distorted in shock, and he exclaimed loudly, "Let's go take a look." Pavilion Master Kang and the others immediately rushed out and headed straight for the Master Teacher Pavilion. Upon pushing open the door, what welcomed them was the sight of countless ancestral tablets shaking non-stop, and sorrowful calls sounded from them, as though they had met with something tragic. At the same time, surge after surge of bizarre aura circled around those tablets, and the deep rumbling of thunder roared from their movements. This is rejection of the ancestors, sorrowful chimes of the bell. Pavilion Master Kang's face changed, and he nearly fell to the floor. Rejection of the ancestors? What does this mean? Seeing Pavilion Master Kang's loss of composure, one of the master teachers couldn't help but ask. After passing the master teacher examination, one would head to the Teacher Acknowledgement Hall to pay respects to the ancestor and seek their acknowledgement. Many people take pride in being acknowledged by the ancestors. Pavilion Master Kang started explaining. The crowd nodded. This was common knowledge among master teachers. The greater the number of ancestors who acknowledged one when one was a lower-tiered master teacher, the more likely it was for one to climb to greater heights in the future. This should be something for master teachers to take pride in. As master teachers, you all should know that while teachers can choose their students, students are allowed to choose their teachers as well. At this point, slight disbelief flashed in the eyes of Pavilion Master Kang, and he clenched his fists tightly. The ancestors can acknowledge their descendants, but at the same time, their acknowledgement can be rejected as well.
Rejected?
The acknowledgement of the ancestors isn't just an honor, it also grants a unique aura that raises one's soul depth. There's actually a person who would reject it. Taken aback by Pavilion Master Kang's words, the crowd widened their eyes in shock. Putting aside the fact that the acknowledgement of the ancestors represented unparalleled honor, more importantly, it could nourish a person's soul depth. Yet, for someone to reject it? Why? There were such cases in the past as well. Taking in the aura granted by an ancestor means having the will of the ancestors will imprinted within one. In other words, that ancestor will be considered as a half-teacher for one. As everyone should know, the moment one accepts the favor of another, one will establish a karmic debt with the other party. One has to eventually pay back the favor. Some of the top-notch geniuses refuse to accept this kind of favor, so they reject it outright.
Pavilion Master Kang explained.
This. The crowd was stunned. Even though it would establish a karmic debt, the benefits were too great to refuse. Everyone here dreamt of earning the acknowledgement of the ancestors, yet for someone to reject it. Even though there's a sliver of the corresponding ancestors will sealed within each of the tablets, it contains their spirit. Being rejected by their descendant, naturally, they'll cry in sorrow. It's under such a situation that'll induce the rejection of the ancestors, sorrowful chimes of the bell. Even so, I've only read about all of this in books. To think that it was all true. Pavilion Master Kang's face paled, more importantly, for so many ancestral tablets to cry sorrowfully at the same moment. It means that all of these ancestors have acknowledged a person at the same time, but all of them were rejected. Acknowledgement by all of these ancestors. How is this possible? The crowd was completely astonished. Some of them even nearly fainted on the spot. In the past 100 years, even the most talented genius of the Myriad Kingdom Alliance for the past several hundred years, Jun Ruo Huan, only obtained the acknowledgement of 7 of the ancestors. Who in the world was this? To obtain the acknowledgement of all of the ancestors at once, and more importantly, to reject all of them as well? Surely I am hearing things? The lips of all of the master teachers quivered, and they fell into a frenzy. Look into it, it must have happened within the Myriad Kingdom Alliance, or else such a phenomenon wouldn't happen here. If we can invite the genius acknowledged by all of the ancestors, we'll surely be able to win. Pavilion Master Kang's eyes shone in excitement. He was just about to continue issuing instructions when the ground suddenly shook. Hualala. Then, he saw Xianxia's statue trembling violently as well, calling out sorrowfully. Xianxia crying out sorrowfully? Could it be that Xianxia has been rejected as well? Dumbfounded. Pavilion Master Kang's mouth was wide open, but not a word came out from his mouth. This. Do we really need not bother about this? Seeing Pavilion Master Jiang walk away, Xianxia glanced at the ancestral tablets and Xianxia's statue which was lying under the ruins of the hall doubtfully. Those were the statue of the world's teacher and the tablets of countless great ancestors. Master teachers have already peered through the essence of the world, and what we value is the intent, not the form. The respect for Xianxia and the other ancestors lay deep in our hearts, not in these ancestral tablets. Otherwise, given how the falling over of the tablets should have been an extremely disrespectful action, how could we, as descendants, wait expectantly for it to happen? Don't worry, the Master Teacher Pavilion have specialized craftsmen in charge of fixing such damages. It won't take long for the Teacher Acknowledgement Hall to be brought back to its former glory. Pavilion Master Jiang explained. What we value is the intent, not the form. Xianxia nodded. Xianxia liked the sound of it. The master teachers he knew, be it Liu Ling, Zhuangxian, or Jiang Shu, never used their position as master teachers to oppress others. Instead, they interacted with others like anyone else, and upon realizing that they had erred, they weren't hesitant to admit their mistakes as well. Instead of their pride, they used their heart and conscience to deal with matters. Knowing that the other party understands that he didn't intentionally break Xianxia's statue, Xianxia heaved a sigh of relief. Advancing forward, he soon arrived at the conference hall. Allow me to formally introduce you two to them. These two are 4-star master teachers from the Myriad Kingdom Alliance, Su Shi and Ling Shi. After the group settled down, Pavilion Master Jiang introduced 4-star Master Teacher. Zhongxian and Mo Hongyi leaped in shock. They thought that those two were 1-star Master Teachers who came from other kingdoms. How could have even imagined that they were 4-star Master Teachers? Especially for Zhongxian, his face turned green in regret. He had even criticized them earlier. The two of you are talented, and it's just a matter of time before you two become 4-star Master Teachers, so there's no need to feel so restrained before us. Xianxia chuckled. Then, turning to Zhongxian, he said, Xianxia, I have a presumptuous request to ask of you. Xianxia, feel free to speak. Knowing that the other party was a 4-star Master Teacher, Zhongxian immediately clasped his fist respectfully. Not only were 4-star Master Teachers knowledgeable, their cultivation had also reached a frightening level. To become a 3-star Master Teacher, one had to possess the strength of minimum Xizuan realm. At 4-star, his cultivation must have already surpassed Xizuan. I heard that Xianxia is in the capital, so may I ask if Ling Shi and I can pay a visit to him? Xianxia asked. Pay a visit to Xianxia. The corner of Zhongxian's lip twitched, and he nearly fainted on the spot. What Xianxia? The teacher behind him was Zhongxian himself. The two 4-star Master Teachers were interested in meeting Xianxia. What should he do? It had already taken him a lot of effort to fool Jiangshu. This time, the other party were 4-star Master Teachers. It wouldn't be a simple feat to fool them. It was possible that they might even be able to see through his disguising ability. Why? Is it not convenient? Xianxia asked. That isn't the case, just that my teacher has always been wandering around the area. So, even I'm not too sure where he is. Zhongxian hurriedly added, how about this, I'll ask him of this matter as soon as he appears. I'll be depending on Xianxia then. Xianxia smiled. Even though they were both 4-star Master Teachers, they didn't have any domineering aura to them. Instead, they felt particularly amiable. It was said that the higher ranked a Master Teacher was, the more they would be like that. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to earn the trust and acknowledgement of their students swiftly, and better impart their knowledge. All right, now that you two are done with your examinations, I won't beat around the bush. Actually, there are 2 reasons why Ling Shi and I are here. Firstly, it's because of Zhongshi's astonishing examination results, so we came over to take a look. Other than that, we have something that we might need your help on. Upon seeing Zhongxian agree to the matter, Xianxia stroked his beard and spoke of the primary reason for their arrival. Xianxia, feel free to speak. If it's within the abilities of Qianwu Kingdom's Master Teacher Pavilion, we'll definitely give it our all. Pavilion Master Jiang said. Putting aside the fact that the other party was his superior, the other party's rank as a 4-star Master Teacher made him more than qualified to command them. Chapter 399, Above the Alliance, I won't stand on formalities then. Hesitating for a moment, Xianxia started explaining. I believe you all should have at least heard a little about the standing of our Myriad Kingdom Alliance in the continent. Having read through books, Zhongxian knew that due to the influence of the Master Teachers, this continent was known as Master Teacher Continent. It was a huge continent that seemed boundless, in which there were countless kingdoms, sects, and individual influences scattered all over. The Myriad Kingdom Alliance might be the strongest existence in this region, but when placed against the entire Master Teacher Continent, it didn't amount to anything much. Seeing the confusion in the eyes of many Master Teachers here, Xianxia shook his head. I guess that even if you all know a little about it, your knowledge is probably incomplete. Allow me to explain more then. I'm sure you all should be well aware of the ranking system of the kingdoms. There is a total of 4 ranks, unranked, Tier 2, Tier 1, and conferred. Your Qianwu Kingdom is a Tier 1 kingdom, and it is considered as a vassal to conferred Shenyuan Kingdom. And there are 142 kingdoms of Shenyuan kingdoms level under the jurisdiction of the Myriad Kingdom Alliance. So many. Zhongxian was taken aback. The map he saw was only at the level of a Tier 1 kingdom. As such, he wasn't too sure about the conditions of the conferred kingdoms. Initially, he thought that the Myriad Kingdom Alliance was just a name, but at this moment, he realized that the number of countries within it had to be at least 10,000. There were 142 conferred kingdoms, and Xianyuan Kingdom had 20 Tier 1 kingdoms like Qianwu under its jurisdiction, and then going down further. The total quantity numbered so many that it was hard to calculate on the spot. That's right. The presence of the Master-Teacher Pavilion and various historical circumstances formed the present situation, but I won't touch on that for now. For now, I'll focus on the Myriad Kingdom Alliance. The Myriad Kingdom Alliance governs all of the kingdoms within a certain boundary, and even though it sounds like a massive organization, but compared to the scale of the Master-Teacher continent, it is actually just an insignificant droplet within a vast ocean. There are several thousands of similar powers in the entire continent, such as the neighboring Xianxia Empire, Hunghai Empire. There are also some powerful third-rate sects such as the Cascading Sand Sect and Frigid Gale Sect. There are so many similar existences to the Myriad Kingdom Alliance. Everyone was shocked. They knew that the Master-Teacher continent was vast, but they didn't expect it to be of such a scale. In their eyes, an existence that gathered over 10,000 kingdoms was already a mammoth. How could they possibly fathom that there were several thousands of such influences scattered throughout the continent? Just the thought of it was fearsome. Myriad Kingdom Alliance might sound domineering, but as the kingdoms within are autonomous and there's lack of connection between each of them, it's actually one of the weakest among similar influences. Take Xianxia Empire for example. Regardless of whether it's the number of experts they have or their economy, they are way superior to us. Liuyun Sect and Luosha Sect are also filled with outstanding geniuses, and their strength far surpasses ours. But of course, these influential powers also have Master-Teacher Pavilions within them, and they're under the jurisdiction of a headquarter. In order to better select talents to groom and glorify Master Teachers, the Myriad Kingdom Alliance and 26 other similar influences cooperate together to conduct a Master Teacher tournament. It's conducted once every decade, and all Master Teachers under 20 are allowed to participate. The winner will be entitled to generous rewards. This tournament has been conducted 77 times already, but it's a pity that the Myriad Kingdom Alliance has continued to hover around the bottom. Even at best, we only reached the 23rd place. At this point, Xianxia's face flushed in embarrassment. Of 27 similarly influential powers, their best placing was only at 23rd place, or 5th from the bottom. It was no wonder why he felt embarrassed. This time, the newly appointed Pavilion Master Kang has decided to make some changes and strive for better results. He instructed for the personnel of the Myriad Kingdom Alliance's Master Teacher Pavilion to pay attention to the other kingdoms and pick out talented individuals to groom for the tournament that would be held 3 months later. Xianxia stared at Xianxia expectantly. Xianxia means that you wish to ask Xianxia to join this tournament. Pavilion Master Jiang came to a realization. That's right. Xianxia nodded. Despite his young age, Xianxia has broken many records of the Master Teacher Pavilion. Even within the Myriad Kingdom Alliance, there is probably none who can match his talents. Thus, I would like to formally invite him to participate in the tournament. Not expecting the other party to ask such a request, Pavilion Master Jiang instinctively turned to look at Xianxia. The gazes of the other Master Teachers focused on Xianxia as well. It was Xianxia's personal decision to choose whether he wanted to participate or not. No one could force him into it. Xianxia was also stunned by the sudden request. Xianxia, there's no need for you to rush to answer the question. You have 2 days to consider this matter and discuss it with your teacher. You can answer me once you've made up your mind. Xianxia said. All right, then I'll give it some thought. Xianxia nodded. Xianxia had never even heard of the Master Teacher Tournament, and he had no idea what form the tournament would be in. As such, he felt that he should be more prudent with this matter. His primary focus at the moment was to become a 9-star Master Teacher before 30. Everything else was of secondary concern. All right, this is all I have. Xianxia, I'll be troubling you to on Xianxia's matter then. Ling Xia and I are truly interested in meeting your teacher. Xianxia chuckled. Given how the other party was able to groom a talent of Xianxia's caliber, his means could only be greater than theirs. Since they were here, it was a breach of etiquette to not pay respects to their senior. Once teacher returns, I'll immediately report to the two elders." Seeing that the other party hadn't forgotten this matter, Xianxia felt his head hurt. Seeing the serious expressions on these two 4-star master teachers, Xianxia knew that it was impossible for him to avoid this affair. Just that, disguising before 4-star master teachers. Honestly speaking, Xianxia had no confidence at all. "If there's no other instructions, I'll be taking my leave first then." Seeing that there was nothing else, Xianxia clasped his fist. "Farewell." The others nodded. Since the 2-star master teacher examination and inauguration were over, it was about time for Xianxia to return back to his residence to meet his students. Xianxia had disguised himself a little after reaching the capital, so he hadn't really walked around the city in his original appearance yet. Walking out of the conference hall, he saw Mu Xueqing, Lu Chong, and his other students from Qianwu Academy walking up to him. "Teacher." Their eyes were filled with admiration. They thought that their teacher was only an ordinary teacher. Who could have thought that he was the great genius whose name echoed throughout the entire capital, Xianxia? They couldn't help but feel proud to have such an esteemed teacher. "Teacher." Zhao Yue and the others walked over, but in comparison to the excitement from the other groups, their heads were lowered as though a rooster who had lost a duel. This was especially for Zhengyang and Yuan Dao. As though a rat meeting with a cat, they trembled fearfully. "See how I'll teach you all a lesson once we return to the residence." This was the Master Teacher Pavilion, and there were many eyes here. If outsiders were to learn that his own student tried to do him in, they would definitely laugh their teeth out. The prestige he had just earned from becoming a 2-star master teacher would also crumble in an instant. Such family scandals should be dealt with behind closed doors. He was determined to teach these arrogant brats a lesson once they returned to the residence. "You all should follow me as well." Glancing at Mu Xueqing, Lu Chong, and the others, Xianxia gestured. Since his two identities had converged together, it was time for him to do some reorganization and end the relationships that needed to be ended. "Yes." The crowd nodded, and they followed behind Xianxia. Returning to the residence, Liu Shi, Bai Chan, and the others had already heard of the news. They hurried forward to welcome Xianxia's return, and admiration glittered in their eyes. Reaching the main hall, Xianxia sat at the top seat as he glanced at the kneeling Zhengyang, Yuan Dao, and the others below with a steeled face. As soon as he arrived, the group immediately explained the matter of the poison. "Regardless of who Liu Laoshi is, even if he isn't me, as a teacher, you should show him the basic respect he deserves. To poison him because of a small contention, how dare you all?" Xianxia bellowed. These few fellows had indeed gone too far this time. He was embarrassed by their act of poisoning him, but what truly made him furious was the lack of values in their actions. They disregarded the honor of a teacher and overstepped their moral boundaries. Once a person loses his values, then no matter how strong he became, he could only be a scum. As a teacher, what he should impart wasn't just knowledge, but morals and values as well. It was just like grooming a flower. It didn't just consist of watering and adding fertilizer, one also had to trim its branches from time to time. Otherwise, as its branches started to twist and turn, it would lose its aesthetics. "Teacher, we don't dare anymore." Seeing their teacher fly to a rage, Zhengyang and the others paled in fright. "Don't dare anymore? You all even dare to make a move on me. What else wouldn't you all dare to do? I, Xianxia, don't have a student like you all, and I am not fitting to be your teacher." Flinging his sleeves, Xianxia harumphed coldly. "Teacher." Zhengyang and their bodies swayed. This meant that Xianxia was expelling them from his tutelage. "Teacher, I beg of you to take back your orders." Zhengyang and the others didn't do it intentionally. Zhao Yue rushed forward and pleaded with Xianxia. "Don't plead for them, leave them kneeling. We'll talk about it once they finally think it through." After bellowing at Zhengyang and the others, Xianxia turned his attention to Mu Xueqing and his other students. "It's under my identity as Liu Cheng that fate brought us together as teacher and students. However, now that I'm reverting back to my original identity, our fate has come to an end. I'll leave you all with cultivation techniques that will allow you all to reach Xianxia realm, so you all should return for now." Zhongxian's connection with these students was only through Qianwu Academy. Now that he had come to the end of his mission, it was time for their relationship to come to an end. Other than that, Qianwu Kingdom was still way too small for him. It was just a matter of time before he'd leave. Taking care of Zhao Ya and the others was already difficult for him. He couldn't possibly bring an entire class around. Teacher. The eyes of Mu Xueqing, Meng Dao, and the others reddened. All right, there's no banquet that doesn't end. Even if you all aren't my students, you all must cultivate diligently. After issuing them one last instruction, Zhongxian waved his hands. You all should go now. Yes. The group kneeled down and kowtowed together once. Teacher, I would like to follow you. I'll go wherever you go. Mu Xueqing gritted her teeth in determination. You are the sole daughter of Apothecary Mu. If you leave, who will take care of him? You should return. Zhongxian waved his hand. I. Mu Xueqing was tongue-tied. She had lost her mother at a young age, and her father went through a lot of trouble to raise her. If she were to leave, what would happen to her father? If you still wish to follow me in the future, you can first settle the matter with Apothecary Mu before looking for me. Don't worry, as a master teacher, it won't be hard for you to track me down. Zhongxian smiled. Yes. Teacher, thank you for your tutelage over the past few days. Upon coming to terms with the matter, Mu Xueqing bent down and kowtowed deeply several times. Zhongxian nodded. Just as he was about to speak, his head suddenly jolted. A bookshelf trembled, and the golden book appeared once more. Chapter 400, Elder? Another page. Zhongxian's eyes lit up. He had gone through a lot of trouble to teach Mu Xueqing, even going to the extent of imparting the Heaven's Path saber art to her. Even so, he didn't really expect to earn the other party's earnest gratitude and form a new golden page. Zhongxian had no idea what other effects there were to this book of Heaven's Path, but its ability to raise Zhongxian's soul depth easily and assimilate the contents of the books gathered in the library of Heaven's Path into his knowledge already made it a priceless treasure. Teacher, regardless of where you go, I'll definitely look for you. Making a vow in her heart, Mu Xueqing led the crowd away. The room soon chilled down with their departure. However, Lu Chong remained in the room, and he stood on the spot impassively. You! Zhongxian was about to speak, but the other party interrupted him. Teacher, I have nothing to tie me down here anymore. Wherever you go, I'll follow you. Lu Chong's eyes reflected his determination. After a long moment of hesitation, Zhongxian nodded. All right. Zhongxian was well aware of the character of this student of his. Knowing that there was no use persuading him, he eventually relented. After dealing with that, Zhongxian walked out of the room. At that moment, Liu Shi stepped forward with a worried frown. Are you going to keep them kneeling? Zheng Yang, Yuan Dao, Wang Ying, and his other students were still kneeling motionlessly in the main hall. Did he intend to keep them kneeling like that? Their cultivation has progressed too quickly, and this has added to their complacency. Making them kneel will help build their character so that they won't act so rashly in the future. Zhongxian said. Actually, Zhongxian's rage had already died down. The poisoning incident didn't cause much harm, and his students already knew their mistakes. However, he still chose to neglect them and keep them kneeling. The reason for it was simple: he wanted to build their character. Only with a strong character will they be able to reach greater heights in the future. Taking Lu Chong for example, the tragedy in his clan had made his mental fortitude as tough as steel. Even though his cultivation had progressed swiftly in the past few days, he didn't show the slightest arrogance or complacency. On the other hand, Zheng Yang, Yuan Dao, Wang Ying, and the others were entitled to the best education from the very start, and they have never faced any major problems in their cultivation before. Zhongxian thought that it was about time to teach them the difficulty of cultivating so that they wouldn't get complacent. That's good. I've neglected this matter. Liu Shi nodded. At this moment, he truly felt impressed by this senior of his. When he first met his senior, he thought that he was still slightly immature in his actions. However, at this moment, he already possessed on the disposition of a teacher, and every single action he took aligned with his duties as a teacher. As a teacher, one shouldn't just focus all of one's efforts on the cultivation of one's student, one must also reinforce their mental fortitude. Using building a palace as an analogy, one's mental fortitude would be like the foundation of the construction. Without the foundation, no matter how many bricks one laid on top and what kind of technologies one utilized, there would still be a limit to its final height. On top of that, it would be unable to weather the winds of a storm as well. Xianxia made use of this matter to sternly punish the others, but the truth was that he was trying to grind their will. Without a bone-piercing chill, how could there be the fragrance of the plum blossoms? I just hope that they can understand your efforts.
Xianxia sighed.
Sometimes, students were unable to understand why their teachers were so harsh on them, and this incited a rebellious streak in them. By the time a falling out occurred, it was already too late for regrets.
Xianxia nodded.
After chatting with Xianxia for a moment longer, he walked out of the residence and settled some other miscellaneous matters. The great Herb King and Liao Zun had already left the capital. The Ji clan had sent many generous gifts in apology, and Xianxia kept them all in his storage ring. In truth, the matter with Ji clan wasn't anything much, and there was nothing for Xianxia to pursue. By the time Xianxia had settled everything, it was already late at night. The next day, he went to the Physician Guild and swept through all of the books in their library. He went on to do the same for the other guilds in the kingdom, storing them inside the library of Heaven's Path. He busied himself throughout the day, and only upon sunset did he return to the residence. Time to begin. With a thought, the Golden Book appeared right before Xianxia. The two 4-star master teachers had specifically brought up their desire to meet Xianxia before him, and dragging the matter out wasn't a solution. If Xianxia didn't want to be exposed by the other party, he had to accrue a huge mountain of knowledge to make up for his lack thereof. In any case, he had 2 golden pages now, so using one wasn't too much of a heartache. Assimilate. Boom! As soon as the thought appeared in his mind, a violent buzz sounded. The golden page radiated a bright glow, and all of the books in the library of Heaven's Path immediately started infusing their contents into his head. Unable to withstand the huge surge of information, Xianxia's vision turned dark and he fainted. In the Physician Guild, Physician Cheng Feng stared helplessly at the unconscious physician Mu Hong lying on the floor. This ex-guild leader had gone to the Lin clan to cure the other party of their poison, but not only did he fail to resolve their poison, he even got afflicted with it. For a 3-star physician to land himself in such a state, it was indeed shameful. Physician Cheng Feng, is there any way to cure him? Physician Mu Hong student, 2-star physician Xianxia, looked at Cheng Feng nervously. Physician Cheng Feng shook his head. I've tried all methods, but the poison he's afflicted with is simply too formidable. I am also helpless before it. He had carefully examined this poison, and he realized that it was able to fuse easily with all Xianxia. This problem had left him completely stumped. Unless Xianxia's face tensed up. Unless guild leader Liu, or rather, Xianxia, treats him personally. Given how he was able to solve so many problems on the Wall of Dilemma, his aptitude for the way of medicine is truly frightening. This poison is formidable, but he might have a solution for it. Physician Cheng Feng said. Xianxia. Upon hearing this name, Xianxia's face immediately sank, and he howled deeply. His student is the one who planted the poison. He must have been in cahoots with the master of the poison hall. Back then, he had clearly seen how Hall Master Liao treated Xianxia so respectfully that it seemed as though the latter was his own father. During the period when Physician Mu Hong was afflicted with lethal poison, the master of the poison hall appeared in the city. It was hard to believe that there wasn't any correlation between the two. Audacious. Such words cannot be spouted without evidence. Physician Cheng Feng berated sternly. Xianxia is a master teacher and a grandmaster physician. How can he be in cahoots with the poison hall? Without evidence? So many people have seen it with their own eyes. Xianxia harumphed coldly. What Wall of Dilemma and guild leader, Pui? How can someone who has dealings with the poison hall be worthy to serve as the leader of our physician guild? In fact, I think that he might not even know medicine at all. He might have prepared the answers to the problems on the Wall of Dilemma beforehand. Otherwise, How could he solve so many problems within such a short period of time? Seeing his own teacher lying in a coma on the floor, Xianxia couldn't hold back his rage anymore, and he bellowed furiously. Every single one of those questions on the wall of dilemma was extremely difficult. Even if Xianxia were to start learning from the womb, given how he wasn't even 20 yet, how much could he learn? Clearly, someone had given him the answers beforehand, and all he had to do was to copy them down. Otherwise, given how skilled he was, why hadn't he treated anyone before? It's worth noting that the issue with the guardian beast is a state secret, so not many people know of it.
This.
Physician Cheng Feng hesitated. Back then, when Xianxia came to the Physician Guild, he was also present. The fact that the other party could solve 19 questions on the wall of dilemma despite being ignorant of basic common knowledge already made the entire incident rather doubtful. Speaking of which, Physician Cheng Feng also held his suspicions. This kind of person is unworthy of being the master of our Physician Guild. I hope that Physician Cheng Feng can host a meeting with the elders to strip that fellow of his position as the guild leader so that he can't go around fooling others. Halfway through Xianxia's incitement, a middle-aged man rushed into the room. As soon as he entered, the middle-aged man shouted excitedly, "Physician Cheng Feng and Physician Xianxia, there's a response on the wall of dilemma."
There's a response?
Did he get the final question wrong? Xianxia's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly turned his gaze to the middle-aged man. A few days ago, Xianxia provided the solutions for 20 difficult illnesses in a row. However, the other side of the wall of dilemma had been unable to give an accurate judgment on the final answer he provided. Initially, it said that it would take 10 days for it to assess the validity of the answer. However, the headquarters seemed to have operated more efficiently than it expected, and it had already given a reply today.
Wrong.
The middle-aged man froze for a moment before hurriedly shaking his head. It doesn't mention whether it's wrong or not. Doesn't mention. The two physicians were stunned. Since the headquarter had given its reply, it should have already come to a verdict on the validity of Xianxia's answer. What did he mean by saying it wasn't mentioned? Then, what's written on it? Xianxia couldn't help but ask. The middle-aged man hesitated for a moment before replying. It says that it'll confer Liu Cheng as an elder of the Myriad Kingdom Alliance's Physician Guild, and as for his exact ranking, a test will be conducted when his cultivation reaches a certain level. Confer him as an elder of the Myriad Kingdom Alliance's Physician Guild. Physician Cheng Feng and Physician Xianxia glanced at one another, and their bodies trembled. Blood nearly spurted out of their mouths. The heck? What was going on? The Myriad Kingdom Alliance, that was a top-notch existence that stood even above the conferred kingdoms. The elders of the Physician Guild there were at minimum 4-star. Conferring Liu Cheng as their elder? At this moment, Xianxia could only feel a piercing heat on his face, and it felt as though someone had slapped him forcefully. He had just said that the other party was unworthy of being their guild leader, and the next moment, the Myriad Kingdom Alliance's Physician Guild sent a message indicating their interest in having him as an elder of their guild. The heck? You must be doing this on purpose. Xianxia's face turned scarlet, and he nearly cried on the spot. There was a peculiar room in the Qianwu Kingdom Master Teacher Pavilion where a snowy white wall towered. Communication wall. At this moment, Su Shuo, Ling Shuo, and Pavilion Master Jiang were standing in front of the wall. Reporting to Su Shuo, Ling Shuo, and Pavilion Master Jiang, the reparations of the Teacher Acknowledgement Hall are completed. Elder Zhu walked in and clasped his fist. Good. Pavilion Master Jiang heaved a sigh of relief. The sudden shaking of Kong Shi's statue and the fall of innumerable ancestral tablets. Such a matter has never occurred before. Ling Shuo, do you have any idea what happened then? Su Shi frowned. That day, they were all present on the spot. Kong Shi suddenly fell, resulting in violent tremors throughout the hall. Even until now, they were still unable to make sense out of the incident. They had considered the possibility of Xianxia winning the acknowledgement of all of the ancestors, but eventually, they shook their heads in denial. That was Kong Shi's statue. His lingering will was infused in it. How could it possibly acknowledge anyone easily? Rumor had it that there was once a 9-star master teacher who tried to acknowledge Kong Shi as his teacher, only to be rejected. To reject a 9-star master teacher and take in a 2-star master teacher instead? You must be jesting.
Not yet.
Xianxia couldn't comprehend the situation either. Shaking his head, he picked up a brush and smiled. However, there's no need to worry. I intend to ask the headquarter now. Even though we don't understand the situation, the guild leader and the other elders might know a thing or two.
Hurry up.
Xianxia nodded. Just as Xianxia was considering how he should phrase his words, the massive wall before them suddenly lit up, and a row of words appeared. Rejection of the ancestors, sorrowful chimes of the bell. Someone in the Myriad King Alliance has refused the acknowledgement of the ancestors after passing the master-teacher examination. If the teacher acknowledgement hall of any branch has collapsed, report swiftly. Teacher acknowledgement hall, collapsed. Su Shi, Ling Shi, Pavilion Master Jiang, and Elder Zhu were dumbstruck. Thank you for listening to Panda Audiobooks. If you love what you hear and want to support my work, check out the PayPal link in the description. Every bit helps. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notifications bell to stay updated with all our latest audiobook chapters. We'll see you in the next one.